so much for letting me come to your home. It's fun to have a studio where I film, but this is so beautiful because I feel your energy.
I'm so happy you're here.
Yeah,
it's an honor.
You're so nice to do this. I know you have a very, very, very busy life.
I think we all do at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, but I would love to introduce yourself.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk about love and how you have been able to expand your love throughout the world. But tell me about who you are.
Thank you.
You can brag. It's okay.
Well, that's the fun part.
Yeah.
It's fun to see who we become through life, right? And I am a joyful mother of 7. I get to work side by side with my amazing husband. But a lot of what has made me who I am today is literally my mom passed away when I was 19. And I had a lot of emotional grief and emotional baggage that came from that experience. Yeah. And that has really helped me and maybe driven me even towards learning more about emotions and about health and about relationships and family. And so that experience was really pivotal in my life, and that led me to become a holistic health coach, a family life educator. So those parts and pieces of me I just love, and they kind of set the backdrop for what I do today, which is influence around the world and educate and empower around the world with doTERRA essential oils. So
yeah, it's beautiful. And I know you didn't say a number, but there are 1.6 million people that are in your team.
Yeah.
I mean, that's incredible. That's just, to me, we call you probably don't know this, but you're the queen. You're the queen mother.
Thank you. I love queens. They're
Yeah,
amazing.
and you carry your crown really well, so you're very kind and humble.
It is an honor, and literally we found so much joy and peace and love in the oils that we just couldn't help but sharing. Yeah. And our little sharing multiplied and rippled out to touch the world in a pretty impactful way.
It's 50 countries.
Oh, yeah.
At least, and lots of states, like the majority of the states.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, like I said, we were talking about love, but part of the reason I'm really excited about talking to you is because we have been talking about this Essential Emotions book that you gifted to me, which is beautiful, and this amazing wheel. So our whole podcast for this year is based on these, and you were one of the creators. So I just want to give you that notoriety, give you the, like you said, just make sure that people know that is part of a team, and it's not my own material. Absolutely. But you know this inside and out. So I love to hear what you have to say about it.
Absolutely. And honestly, it's such a conglomerate, right? We go through life, and there was an incredible team that wrote that book in the beginning and created that book in the beginning. And they're just brilliant people who tapped in to the power of emotions and what we could do to affect them for good with essential oils. And I'm so grateful to just be one in part of that process, and just happy to share with you today what this is doing for me and what I see it doing for other people to take them closer to love.
I think that's part of the reason that we all connect to you as our queen mother, is because you're so humble. You're just so humble and so willing to give honor to other people that have worked. And before we get talking about this, I really want to go back to what you said. Yeah. Your mother died at 19 years old. Yeah. And I cannot imagine the kind of fear and frustration and loss and all the issues, like you were saying, the baggage that came along with that. And part of the reason that I love the podcasting idea is that I want to share with the world, there's no need to be a victim. No. It doesn't get a lot worse than losing your mother. It really doesn't. And look at you. You have become the mother to so many of your own children, so many of us that look up to you and your kindness. And it's quite an empowerment statement to say, I've suffered, but I'm not going to be a victim. We'd love to hear your journey.
I think that, every experience happens for our good and for our growth. Wow. And we simply decide where we will go with it. It's our choice, our response. And so at 19, she was my best friend, my North Star, and she was gone overnight. And it was just something I never expected.
No.
And I definitely had my own victim moments and went there. And through that process and knowing, hey, there's more than the grief that I'm feeling right now. And I know there's got to be a better way. And part of my journey was just looking ahead in life and thinking, oh, as soon as I get married, you know, then
that hole will be filled.
everything's going to be all better. And that hole will be filled, right? And then once I got married, I thought, oh, it must be children that need to fill that hole. And then it must be child number 2 because 1 isn't enough, right? And as soon as I had child number 2 and that hole was still there, I just dropped into serious depression because I didn't know how to get out of that grief, and there was nothing else to look forward to.
Yeah. So you were looking for an outside source to fill the hole that your mother had left.
Absolutely, or
It's a
just
natural
some way
thing
to
to do.
take away that grief because I did not know how to let it go. And I think so many of us find ourselves there, right? We have experiences in life that bring us grief or sorrow or pain or whatever
Yes.
it is bringing our way.
Right.
And unless we know how to let that go, how to process, feel that emotion in that moment, feel every part of it, then release it, right? Let it go, not be going around in life, carrying around the sorrow, the pain, the frustration. And then, and only then can we live free. And I think my true self, like always knew, hey, you are meant to live free, Natalie. It was just a discovery to figure out how to get there and how to let go of that so that it didn't weigh me down for my life and I could create what I came here to create, you know?
I love that. So one of the books, the book that we're talking about this month is called Real Love. And I'm such a big nerd. I have to recommend that book every month. And I just barely finished it, and I'm just thinking, oh my goodness, where has this book been?
All my life.
Oh, yes. But he brings up something that you brought up. Sometimes we expect others, especially your spouse or your children or your parents or your neighbor, to fill that lack of unencumbered love, you know, the completely unconditional love that we want to feel.
Right.
And then he goes through, and it is, I don't want to take the time to talk about this book. We'll talk about it. We talked about it in another episode, but I just wanted to just acknowledge that is a huge part of feeling love and peace and surviving our challenges, knowing that there's maybe a higher source of love than an imperfect spouse and an imperfect child, because we're all imperfect, right?
Right.
So
I think that's really powerful. And one thought just adding on to that is if we are expecting to receive that love from other people and we're determining our worth or our joy on that, boy, we could be waiting a lifetime because of those imperfect people.
Yes.
But I love just remembering it's my job to love me and accept me. Not yours, not my husband's, not anyone else's. And then I can start from that place of love and acceptance to then pass that out to other people.
Oh, wow. That's profound. And it's, again, recognizing that the first circle of influence is the self. So you mentioned that a couple of months ago that we met, that came to your house, and when you gave me this book, the idea of concentric circles.
Yes.
And that's something that I have believed and written about. But having you mention it too, I thought, oh, this fits so well with the idea of essential emotions.
Yes.
So every month we go, the first week is about self. How are we responsible to obtain that love or awareness or peace or whatever it is that we're talking about? And then how is that family around us? How are we nurturing them? What are we doing to create that love in that circle? And then again, the next layer, which is where we're talking about today, our community, or that expand the circle of influence. But I love how you said it has to start with us.
Absolutely.
If we don't have it, we can't give it, right? So tell me your story. How did you get out of, what was that moment when you realized that the oils or therapy, whatever it is that got you out of feeling that hole?
Well, that second son, he was just maybe he was 4 to 6 months old when I was like, I'm sure my husband was like, wait, what's happening here?
What happened to my wife?
My wife is having a hard time getting out of bed every day. She's not the woman I married. And I didn't know where to turn. But it was my birthday, and he got me a gift certificate to go and have a massage. And this woman did music, massage, and essential oils.
Wow.
And she brought those together. And there was something about that experience, so that in 1 hour I experienced more release, more peace, more love than I had in the previous, 8 years since I lost my mom.
Wow. And
so that day I was paying attention as I left that experience. Yeah. There was so much healing there for me, and just the possibility. And I thought, I've got to take this back into my life, into my everyday life. This can't be just a one-time experience. And so I bought those oils from her that day. I took them home. I started swiping my children. That's the move. Under the nose is a swipe, right? Swipe under the kid's nose, swipe under my husband's nose, just to get that oil up into the brain and help with that release and work with the amygdala. And then swipe across the forehead. And so we just started using the oils in those simple ways.
I like that.
And I started using more loving touch with the oils. I would use the oils and rub it into their feet, and of course, I'm there giving and serving, and all the while that oil is impacting me and influencing me. And I was like being healed myself in that process, right? So I could be a more complete mom, a more complete wife, to be able to give.
Wow, that's the whole lecture. We should be writing a book on this. So I just really love how you said everyday life. So our podcast is called At Peace Today.
Wow.
It doesn't matter what happened to you yesterday, and you don't have to worry about what is going to happen tomorrow. We just need to be at peace today. And if we can live a day as if it was a lifetime, then every day is going to get us to something else that you said, which is your mission on earth. How powerful is that?
Yes.
I think part of the problem that we have, a lot of depression, anxiety, lack of peace has a lot to do with not finding purpose. So tell me, how did you find that purpose? I mean, some of it you said, giving and serving and loving, and that's who you definitely are now. And that was 15 years ago or so that you discovered that. What is that path?
I love that question, and I think really what took me to my purpose was my pain. Right?
Oh, I love that. So pain has purpose, just like C.S. Lewis.
It does.
I love how he talks about that. You and C.S. Lewis.
That quote is amazing, and my mom even wrote notes as she was giving birth to me. That was some of the things that I've kept from her. Is every pain has a purpose.
Wow.
And that was so inspiring to me, that in this paramount of pain, right, giving birth back in the 70s, where she's there in stirrups giving birth,
medication,
and yet she was finding purpose even in that, and seeing that purpose. And to me, the pain of my mom's death and the grief that came from that was what drove me to find solutions, so that I could learn how to process my own emotions and release them and live free. And then I learned more about I needed to learn more about natural health, and that took me to be a holistic health coach, because I needed solutions to keep on that process of feeling better, living better. I knew there was a better way and I wanted to discover it. Same thing with family. It's like I learned to treasure her from losing her.
Right.
And that's when I decided, I'm going to study family, you know.
Oh, yeah, family science. We
Yep.
have a similar background in education. That's cool.
So all of the pain, there's purpose in every pain, right? People talk about your mess is your message. And that pain will take you to purpose every time. And it's unique to each one of us. We each have our unique pain that will guide us to our purpose. And then if we can just choose love, like you're saying.
Choose love. I like that.
Instead of choosing fear, to me, there's only really two choices. Love or fear. Right. And love will cover up. It will dwarf fear every time. Yeah. It trumps fear every time we let it. So if we just choose love, then we will start acting in that purpose, and that purpose will start coming, it'll start emerging and coming out, and then we get to see the path a little bit more. Yeah. I never thought that part of my purpose would be in doing doTERRA. Yeah. I had no idea, but I just kept taking those steps every day and choosing love instead of fear. And boy, it takes you to magical places.
Yeah. Yeah, like literally magical places all over the world.
True.
I love that you have mentioned free and freedom several times. And I think one of the biggest difficulties in all of human history has been lack of freedom. And right now our country is at a place where slavery is not officially happening. And we've had that dark past, and it's from so many nations have had that. But even without the official institution of slavery, which is absolute evil, we make ourselves into slaves from a memory, from an abuse, because we're not pretty enough, because we're not rich enough, because of anything. And that same limiting belief keeps us from enjoying life and feeling love for others and being loved by others. It's so cool. Have you read this book?
I have heard the highlights of this, and I have a good friend that preaches it to me all the time.
I was going to say, this is like you're almost quoting it. It's amazing because he talks about fear is what keeps us from love. And also, I love how you said that when you were giving and serving your little babies, you start to feel more love inside you, and you could give more. And that's another thing that he brings up. Because we don't have perfect relationships. Maybe our parents couldn't possibly have loved us unconditionally because they're not perfect. But we can, by loving others, we can grow that amount of love inside us. Yeah. So we are not empty and we can give something. So, wow, this is just beautiful. I wish we could do like a 5-hour podcast. You have a big life. So tell us more about this. How like say that I don't know anything about it. Let's imagine that, because you've taught me a lot already. How would you get somebody to say, okay, this is where I am and I'm completely messed up, I feel dark. I almost never show the other side. And I know that not everybody's watching the video, but this side, the gray side, is really interesting. And I'm naturally attracted to the green, so I almost never flip it over. But there are people that feel gray and miserable right now. Oh. And I'm hoping that they're listening of how we could switch that into that beautiful, bright.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I have learned is there is potential. So all of this gray, even though it seems dark, right? It was that moment that I had, it was the darkness that takes me to the light, right?
I love it.
It's the pain that takes me to love. And I love the awareness of the emotions that we have and we're living. There's nothing like that to teach us and help us progress right here in our journey, in our purpose. Right. And so I like using this gray side, and it's highlighted negative emotions, I want to feel less. Like my kids will come home from school or somebody's weighed down and I can tell. And I'm like, okay, how are you feeling right now? Yeah. Right? And let's just... I want to feel less trapped, Like there's a lot of things right now in our world today that are feeling a little bit limiting.
Yes.
And
lack of freedom kind of thing. Trapped.
And so that is right here, that's going to guide me to the oil purify. And we might start talking about, okay, you know, how are you feeling trapped? Where are you feeling it the most? And again, we're going to swipe that purify under the nose, breathe it in, swipe it across the forehead.
Okay.
Maybe
so that's
even
simple.
Get it on the wrist. Yep.
That's
and
simple.
They're able to talk about that emotion. And that's part of processing it, right? Is understanding that trapped feeling, getting the lesson from that. So it's key to process and not just sweep things under the rug. I think sometimes in an effort to stay on the positive side and just talk about positive emotions, sometimes we push past those things, which when we don't really process it, it's just going to come up in an uglier, bigger way, right?
Yeah, like the movie Inside Out.
Oh, yeah.
You have children, so we
bigger.
watch children movies all the time.
Yes.
But it's that same idea. You have to acknowledge the sadness before you can move on to being happy and productive.
Yeah, and
like
get
that.
the lesson from the sadness.
Get the lesson.
And I really believe that there's no bad emotions. Yeah, there's negative emotions and positive emotions, but there's really no bad emotion. It's only, like we said in the beginning, our response to it and what we choose from it. So if we can choose to learn from that emotion, it's a lesson, and it's got a gem right there for us. If we learn, next time I'm trapped, or when I'm trapped, I need to remember the truth of I'm free. And I have all possibility and right? Yeah. But without acknowledging that, we can never get to the live free part, right? We've got to process.
Yes.
Then we let go with the essential oils, with breathing, with journaling. Sometimes I'll have my kids journal or draw, right?
Yes.
And that's part of releasing. Sometimes it's run around and shake your arms and legs, you know, or
I've done that.
jump on the trampoline, whatever it is that's going to help that go. And a lot of times I think we work out for that reason, you know, it's just, we need that movement. Wow. So processing, releasing right there. And then again, we can live free, and we start integrating these basic little things that we can do on a daily basis more to just bring more freedom and love into our lives.
I like that. You know, I grew up in a country where natural solutions are the norm.
Yeah.
I grew up with very few people that would just run to the pharmacy and buy something, you know, to get better. It was usually behavior or nutrition or plant-based. So I don't know if you knew this, but my grandmother and my great-grandfather were natural healers.
Wow.
Yeah, and they were
Not
famous
surprised.
enough that people came from all over the world, you know, to see them. And they could cure or heal whatever, just about something that seemed impossible, but they also acknowledged that it was the person healing themselves. It wasn't their magic medicine, because there was no magic medicine. It was a lot of the releasing and stuff. So
and the body is so brilliant. That's where the body knows how to heal itself if we give the body what it needs, right? It
has an intelligence.
So your grandparents knew, just trust the body. Let's give it what it needs.
So we do live in a society right now that is starting to see that side, but I'm also related to very scientific people that laugh at this kind of thing, or even call it snake oil or whatever. So there's science there. I've studied a lot of this because I am, like I said, naturally inclined to natural solutions, and this has been a great thing. I have used this stuff for 12 years.
Wow.
I mean, it's been, I can remember the last time any of us were sick. Wow. It's been really a powerful tool to use, and it matches my worldview. But how would you tell a scientist that is so set on, if it is not FDA approved and is a drug, it is just a farce? I mean, I'm sure you've encountered that many times. Absolutely. With so many situations you've talked about the oils.
And sometimes I just love to bring forward the research, right? Yeah. Because I'm so grateful that these bottles are not FDA approved or regulated because of all the other things that come with that, right? I want the power of the plant, and I trust the power of the plant, and I want to have full access to that without any, you know, if this was regulated, it would have to fit in a certain box, and the
Right.
plants just don't do that,
No.
right?
No.
And so I want the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
I want the best of science and the best of nature. And I think wise people in our world today should or can get both.
Mm-hmm.
We live in a day where we can get the very best of both.
Yeah.
So I believe in the science. I'm so grateful for this day that we live with research showing, hey, emotions are real.
Yes.
They create peptides in the body,
Yes.
which then goes and speaks to the cell. Like there's a whole physical reaction
Right.
happening in
Even
your body
cancer
based on the emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. The work of Candace Pert,
Yes.
Molecules of Emotion, like
I
world
love
changing.
this. I love her book. Or
World
Feelings Buried
changing.
Alive, Never Die.
Yes.
Love that.
I mean, Carol Truman was way before her time.
Yes.
She started recognizing
Yes.
those things back in the 70s,
It's
patterns as
amazing.
she was working with people of, oh, wow, you know, people that have issues in the liver often have anger issues. And so she started lining those up, and now we have great science.
Where would you
to
go to
support
find
that.
that kind of thing?
You know, I love the second section in this book is called Body, in your body guide.
In the
And
Essential Emotions book.
yes, yes. So that's on page 159, and there's some good resources right there, like metaphysical anatomy. Your body is talking. Are you listening? That was by Rose in 2013. Also, the work of Louise Hay. And so she's got another book really similar to Carol Truman. So these are some great references right there at the beginning of the
Yeah.
body guide that's connecting body and physical ailments or issues to emotional roots,
Oh,
right?
I like that.
But there's great research. Again, search for Candace Pert.
Okay.
Look more deeply there, and you'll find some great work as well. So this is just connecting the two. But there's definitely the research there that haven't connected all the dots, you know?
Right. So it's interesting that you have brought up a lot of what you have said. I feel that you're talking about empowerment, which is something we will talk about in March. And unless we feel empowered to take care of our own life, physical, emotional, all that, social, you know, if we think that is somebody else's job, we never get anything done. So I almost feel like reading between the lines of what you're saying, if you really want to get back the power of your health and your family's health, start by understanding, you know, what tools are out there. And yes, doctors are great. And you know, my daughter Rose, you know her really well. She's good friends
do.
with Liza. And Liza's been such a gift to her. Thank you for letting her hang out.
Absolutely.
But she had a massive car accident a year ago. And we needed a doctor. We needed a surgeon to mend all the bones and get all the tissues back together. But when it's not that, you know, there's a lot more you can do with natural, preventative lifestyle and emotions. So anyway, I'm so glad you brought that up. But tell us more about the brain, because the oils, I know, some of the oil products are something that you ingest. If my stomach hurts, I'm going to take a PV Assist, you know, and if I have a massive headache, I'm going to take that mint oil and rub it in my head. So it's physical help. But the emotional thing, you said something about the amygdala. Tell me more about that.
Yes.
I study psychology, so I'm curious.
No, I love it. Because the oils do have that physical impact. There's no question, right? And if we look at what is created in our day, right? Something like Pepto-Bismol, right? They took an element out of peppermint. They isolate that. They recreate that in the lab. They add some pink and they add some flavor.
Which are just probably not the best thing for your body.
Right.
And fillers.
But look, we know the power of the plants, and we've always drawn on that in one form or another. Just now we live in a day where we can get that power from wherever it grows best all around the world and be able to have that in my home, in my purse, wherever I am, right?
So it's the
Have
real
access
thing
to
instead of
that.
an imitation.
Absolutely. So drawing on nature instead of trying to recreate that man in its limited form of what we can do in a lab.
Right.
I
like that.
We put that side by side, and there's no question, right? There's no contest.
Yeah.
Nature wins every time there, right? I'm going to go to a doctor. I'm going to get support if I have a broken arm. Right. I'm going to go to that. But 90% of health challenges, can we support our body so that that brilliant body can heal itself?
Right.
So much of the time. And like we were saying, there's emotional connections to every physical thing. Yes. So if there's some physical issue coming up, then I'm going to go and have that, take a look deeper at that physical issue and address the emotional root. So I love remembering how our body works, that the emotional, the physical, and the mind, body, spirit can't be separated, right? Mm-hmm. There is no separation. Right. We are holistic beings. We're whole mind, body, spirit. Mm-hmm. And the amygdala and our brain is so amazing. So the amygdala, two almond-shaped parts of our brain right here.
In the front, right? For those that are not on video.
Yep. And once we breathe in, it's so miraculous with the essential oils. Such small molecules that it actually can go right up through our olfactory, which is actually the fastest way to the brain.
Your nose makes sense.
Yeah. It's a direct shot, right?
Yeah.
And then it hits that amygdala, which is our memory center, which is where we store our emotions. Yeah. And so sometimes I'll see someone breathe an oil and literally start crying, almost momentarily from doing that. Yeah. And they don't understand what's happening. Huh. But the truth is we're accessing that amygdala, that place for memory storage and emotion storage, and we're helping release what sometimes we get a little overload in that amygdala. We're feeling so much. We're exposed to so much in our day.
And fear, of course, being the biggest culprit.
Absolutely.
Wow, that's beautiful. So I don't know if you have this oil with you, but I carry my emotional essential oils. And
yes.
I've raised a lot of children, and I'm still in the process of it.
Yeah.
But I find that having this as a tool is very helpful. So every month, I'm hoping I pick my favorite oil out of this wheel on the positive side because I just love it.
Yes.
So of course, December was peace. So the peace oil, of course, is already called peace. It's wonderful. And in each of the months, like I said, I have a favorite oil that I use because sometimes you just want to feel a little more joy or more safe or any of these.
Right.
And sometimes you need it immediately. If you're stuck in the Middle East, or I'm stuck in Guatemala. I mean, I'm all over the world, right? So sometimes I'm like, okay, I need to be at peace because if you don't look at peace, if you don't look safe, they might just attract the wrong thing, right? But here's one that I chose for February, for love, and I found it interesting that's what came to me, and it's forgive.
Wow.
What tell us about that? How does that affect your ability to love and be loved and feel different?
Forgive is so big, and this is one of the oils. When it first came out, I used it several times a day, and I felt like it was helping me again, right? It was going up to the amygdala and helping me let go of things that I'd been carrying around for years, decades maybe, right?
Yeah.
And just feel lighter and freer in the process.
It's hard to love somebody that you haven't forgiven.
Absolutely, right? And a lot of forgiveness of self, right? If we're looking to expand our ability to love, so much of that is based on letting go of our expectations for ourselves and forgiving ourselves for where we didn't live up to that, right? And just moving forward, forgiving others through the experiences that we've had.
Yes.
I love the description, and I'll just read a couple things from the book that forgives the oil of forgiving, of course. But, It challenges individuals to let go of bitterness and hostilities and to embrace other people as an extension of themselves, as part of the human family. It reminds individuals to live by the golden rule, right? Just the basics, to treat others the way themselves would like to be treated, right? I want others to forgive me. I'm passing out forgiveness. I'm giving forgiveness to others. It invites individuals to free themselves by realizing that others are usually doing the best they can and deserve compassion and forgiveness.
Wow. That's powerful, because the person that does not forgive is the one that is carrying the pain.
Absolutely.
I can't take poison hoping that it kills you. And I think sometimes we see, I can't forgive that person because they did this to me. But that person doesn't even care or remember.
Right.
Or maybe didn't even do it intentionally. So it's interesting that it mentions that we are an extension of a human family.
Absolutely.
I think when we feel connected to other people, we're less likely to hurt them.
Yes.
And we're less likely to feel hurt by them. And this same book, of course, The Real Love, is talking about people when they're angry and behave irrationally. They sometimes, it's because they don't feel loved, and they're afraid, and they have a hole in their heart. And as much as we shouldn't allow people to be abusive to us, we should also understand that there's a bigger reason why they're mad. But
along those lines, I just love the quote, every act is an act of love or a cry for more.
I'm going to put next year for your quotes. I love how you give us the quotes things.
It's a powerful
Christmas
quote.
present.
And I try and teach it to my children because I think it's so easy to forget.
Yeah. Would you repeat it? I got to write that.
Every act is an act of love or a cry for more. So if we're in an experience or having an experience and it doesn't feel like love, it's somebody else saying, hey, I need more love.
Yeah.
And asking for that, right? So maybe instead of, in this world that we're living in right now, it's so easy to pit ourselves against others and forget that we all, have this need to love and be loved.
Yes.
And if we can just see everything that people do, it's either sending out love or crying for more love.
Wow, that simplifies life. I completely.
Right. And you know exactly what to do, right?
Oh, yeah.
That way, the answer is always give love.
Yeah.
And the truth is, this phrase that started coming to us once we were doing the work that we're doing now and raising a family is just love works.
Yes.
Every time.
I love that. And it makes me think of the first and second commandment in Christianity.
Yeah.
To love God and then to love your neighbor as yourself. If that's all we ever did, the whole world would be completely different.
It's so simple.
Yeah, you don't need to be religious to understand that is definitely the answer. Another thing that I was thinking about, so how I'm trying to finish my degree, right?
Yes.
So I started it, but I've done it between children. And as odd and different as that is, it's actually been the best thing that I could have done for my education. Someday I'll be a PhD, Dr. Fletcher thing, but not for the title, but for the knowledge that I have acquired. And the thing that is powerful in my mind is that I can apply whatever I'm learning that semester. So last night, I'm really behind in class because I was going to Guatemala for the first week of school. And I was trying to read through my anthropology textbook, and I'm just going, oh my goodness, I can't keep my eyes open. I gotta get up and film tomorrow. I mean, I'm just feeling sorry for myself but I have to finish that class, and it's a great class. But my school, BYU, loves to have you read the entire textbook. They just do a good job. You remember those days.
Yes.
But here's the thing that I thought was fascinating. According to all the science that anthropology has been able to gather, they have concluded that race is not a biological thing. I mean, that sounds controversial, but the way that he was explaining, and this is a doctor, somebody that wrote the book, using years and years of anthropological research. He said, what we understood is that humans, regardless of their race, have more things in common that they could possibly have that are different from each other.
Absolutely.
Like when this origin of the species came along, it was pretty much the other way. saying, you know, if you have this kind of features, you're more animal than human, or if, which is silly, right? Because we can see now that we are so much like each other.
Oh, yes.
Regardless of color or features or anything. But I just thought how fun to see that in a textbook, that we are a human family. So how do you feel about the human family?
my experience as we have traveled the globe a little bit less in this last year than normal.
Wonder why.
But honestly, on a normal basis, you know, we would be to every continent.
Yes, in less than a year.
Oh, yeah. Maybe in a quarter.
Yeah.
So just meeting a lot of people from around the world. And, you know, I was a little girl. I grew up on a ranch in northern Arizona, just super limited contact. And as I meet these people, I notice, they're all the same in that need to love and be loved.
Right.
And outside of that, there's hair color, there's eye color, there's what language we speak.
Right.
But that is not nearly as big as that need to love and be loved, which to me is universal, found without question. Some of us are more asleep to that need than others, but it's real for every one of us.
That is beautiful. That is so beautiful. I think contention is a tool to destruction, and we need to stop drinking the Kool-Aid.
Absolutely.
I mean, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, Natalie, that we spent the weekend here at my house a while ago, and it was so interesting to see how there was an experience that she lived through with me, being I was the only brown person pretty much in my neighborhood, in a very white neighborhood. And there were a couple of people that really struggled with that.
Yes.
And I felt it before. You know, I do have an accent and I'm brown and whatever, but I don't consider myself less or more, and I have chosen not to have a chip on my shoulder. But some of the experiences that we were recounting, I was like, oh my goodness, talk about racism. I could be the angry, I'm brown, and I'm going to just take everybody down. And it's not worth it, because it would have poisoned me.
Absolutely.
Not the people that were angry. I don't even know what they're doing with their lives, and I care so little.
How beautiful that you didn't carry that forward. You didn't use that and take that in as any
like
influence
a crutch, right?
about what you were or who you were, right?
Yeah.
And that's the only way to live free. Right?
Yes.
Is to let those things fall off. And, you know, the story You Are Special about the little...
Oh, with the stickers.
Right?
I love that story.
It's so powerful about love. And that when we have that love within us, nothing sticks. You didn't remember those experiences.
Forgotten
you
it.
haven't been, you know, percolating on that for the last 30 years. You let it go. And that's what forgiveness is about, is about letting go and choosing love. Love is a choice that we make in every moment. We can choose love or we can choose fear. And that fear, like you're saying, it's separating us.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Dangerous.
Dividing us. We just had a great conference, and Dave Sterling,
I love Dave. He's such a
amazing.
great person.
He's the CEO of doTERRA.
Yes.
And such a wise man.
Yes.
And he left us with a challenge, and that was listen more. And I want to invite you to connect with someone that believes opposite of you and get to know them and get to know how they feel. And to me, that was such a powerful invitation. It's not for us to stay in our own camps, whatever, you know, illusion of camps that we've created, right? But to actually leave that and go into humanity and connection and love and forgiveness and be playing out there in it.
Yes,
right?
yes. Oh, I like that. I love going to conferences. And I don't think I ever missed one.
Yes.
And he is particularly inspiring. You know, there's so many other people that are in the group of this healing, because we're all leaning towards wanting to be wellness advocates, you know, to get healing to the world in all different dimensions. Because when your body doesn't feel well, it's less likely that you're going to be pleasant and
That's a
peaceful.
really great point. That's what drew me to holistic health was I learned about family, but then it seemed like most of the parents, the spouses that I met, they didn't have enough energy to learn how to be
Right.
a better family or a better spouse because they literally were sick and drained and tired and just didn't have the health or vitality. So that's when I thought, okay, we're going back to the core and we take care of the body and then we can take care of mind and spirit. And, you know, since then, hey, you can start wherever you are to bring on more love and light into body, mind, and spirit.
Right.
And there's so many great ways that we can do that in the world today, right? We are surrounded by amazing music, right? Like that woman that helped me.
Yes.
She used amazing music to just change how I was feeling, mind, body, spirit. And the essential oils are just such a powerful tool to affect all of that. And then we've got incredible gems
resources
of knowledge in our world. I mean, how much, we've got access to so much knowledge in our world. Anything.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. So dialing into those key pieces that can really give you the knowledge that you need to take your life to a new level.
Yeah, and I love how you keep mentioning roots, which is really neat because these are obviously plants, and you have to have really great roots in order to have those plants go and be effective. I wish we could give a tour of your home. We're not going to do that, don't worry. The spirit here is just so beautiful. And I was noticing in the kitchen that you have this chart of like a working out thing, which is so fun, you know, to have the whole family involved in. If you want to be feeling great, let's work out. Let's eat really well. I've eaten at your house, and it's the most incredible salads. You know, it's like my happy place.
Awesome.
So tell us more about that. You know, what do you do proactively for your body to keep going, and what things would you avoid taking in, and what things would you put in?
Absolutely. I think we have the opportunity, just like we talked about in the beginning, like, is it love or fear?
Right.
And to me, if we think about the body, I'm thinking about, hey, I want to take more light and energy into my body, and things that have less light, I'm going to stay away from.
Right.
And
I like that.
And so, you know, when I'm drinking water, that's light. That's lifting me up.
Yes.
Right? When I am having a salad, that's live food. I teach my kids, hey, what live food are you going to eat? Because if you want to be alive, you've got to take in life.
Things that are alive, closer to the ground.
Right.
Love
right.
that.
Closer to the form that they were created in originally, right?
Yes.
Versus everything so processed. But I think that rule about, hey, what has more light, right? Is it this dessert or is it this amazing peach?
Right.
You know? Like,
which is more pure.
You can totally feel the difference between the two and what they will give your body, right? This other dessert that's full of processed foods and sugar, that's going to drop you off. It might taste good for a moment, but is it good for you, right? Yeah. We have to look beyond the initial taste or the initial hit to go for something that's really going to give us energy and vitality. And now we live in a day with so much science. Boy,
you can learn all kinds of things.
So movement is key, and we're just like training our kids like, hey, are you getting that movement every day? So we do a 21-day challenge and they move every day for 7 days, and then once they do that, we give them a penny on the 8th day.
Nice.
And then we'll double it every day till the end of the 21 days.
I like
and
it.
that helps them get more of that habit. And when we get out of the mode, like we were out of the mode for the holidays, so we're like, we got to start into a challenge again. And it just helps us lay those powerful habits, you know, on top of each other. We have the kids are using oils. They know how to put them on themselves, in themselves. They're taking in supplements that are going to support their health overall. They know these things so that then they can just keep increasing that in their life, right?
Like that.
So we've
they're
got a
empowered
foundation
to take care of their own. That's how you can run a multi-million-dollar company and still have your children rebalanced and wonderful. I mean, I love them all. It's been fun to get to know them. Having
They
Max go
are
to Guatemala
glorious.
with us, who
Yes.
does that? How unselfish to just go and with his own money and buy his ticket and go help people he's never met. That was beautiful.
I think when we give our children what they need to keep increasing in light in that way, they truly are magnificent within them, right? It's kind of like our bodies are so brilliant, and we're just going to help fuel that so the best of them can come out.
Yeah. Oh, it's just been so fun. Just final words, anything you can tell us, and then you have to run to the next thing.
I love this quote by Marianne Williamson. She says, "We are not held back by the love we didn't receive in the past, but by the love we're not extending in the present."
Oh, wow. That gives me chills everywhere. It's completely up to us. We can't blame nobody. Oh,
And we get to choose. When I was a young girl, I had a dad that kind of grew up in another time when they didn't say I love you or hug each other or that kind of thing, right? And I really needed that. And so I chose from the time I was a teenager to just say, I love you, Dad. Whether he said nothing or turned away or whatever it was. And I learned from that experience that it's just my choice on what I send out. Wow. And that choice, boy, it ripples out and it's so powerful. And the more and more love that we can extend in the present, that's going to be the answer to the ails in our life, to the pain in our life, and the pain in the world, right, at large.
Thank you. And thank you for being so loving. It's been kind of accidentally ended up at your house, and you're so willing to just open it up several times, and I feel so loved by someone that just a little while ago was just a stranger. So I feel like I'm connected with you because of your love that you're willing to give, and I appreciate that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Deborah. You are incredible.
Thanks.
So many get to see your life and your influence, and the impact of that is just immeasurable.
Thank you.
I'm honored to be here with you.
I'll take that with me.
Doing life together.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a great day.
Yes.
Thank you.